Good morning and welcome to Behind the Screen. I am JM, and this is a show where we hang out, we talk about games, board games, role-playing games, card games, miniature games, games that, video games, things that I think that are fun. Most importantly, things that I think are beautiful, because as Dostoevsky said, beauty will save the world, and I completely believe that. So today we're talking about one of my favorite fictional settings. I won't even say game settings, one of my favorite fictional settings. We're talking about Glorantha. They put out a new book in the Cults of Runequest line, which is The Gods of Fire and Sky, and this is a new pantheon book. And we're going to take a kind of look through it. I got to be careful. There are a couple, as is the nature of RuneQuest books. The RuneQuest books lean into an art style that's heavily influenced by mythology and Bronze Age and classical art. So there is a certain level of comfortable nudism in the books, and on top of that, there is a terrifying goddess in here, and we will just leave it at that. Know what you're getting into when you're getting into Glorantha. You're getting a main line directly from Bronze Age mythology to today. And so what does the Fire and Sky book actually cover? Well, like all of the Cults of RuneQuest books, this is an overview of an entire pantheon's worth of gods, cults, subcults, avenging spirits, and magical spells. And so you get new spirit magic that is cult specific. You get new rune magic that is cult specific. And you get access to a large number of these as starting cults for your characters in RQG, which is great because the cults is part of the character creation. It ties you into the world in a way that other role-playing games really don't do. I kind of like to tell people when they come and play RuneQuest at my game that in most Dungeons and Dragons games, you're playing itinerant hobos who are wandering on the world, soldiers of fortune, because that's how I run D&D. Because I'm an old school gamer and I grew up reading the stuff from Appendix N, like Conan and Fafhrd the Grey Mouser. However, in RuneQuest, you are the latest in a long line of people who have been part of this community for 3 ages of the world. In fact, RuneQuest Glorantha character creation does not start with your character. No, it starts with your grandparents. And what did they do? And what were they known for? And what kind of lives did they have? How did they die? And then we go into your parents. And once you get through that, then you can make your own character. And so this really expands, like the other Cults of RuneQuest book, this expands the available deities, pantheons, and cultic relations that your group can have for characters, for NPCs, as ways of defining your community. Yes, Padre, Bronze Age mythology is very, very interesting. So, this book covers Fire and Sky. And I would say, so what do we have so far? We have the Lightbringers, the Earth Goddesses, and the Lunar Way. I would argue that the Lightbringers and Earth Goddesses cover in their majority gods and goddesses that we are familiar with if we've dipped our toe into Glorantha at any depth. Whether you've played King of Dragon Pass, or played RQ2, or RQ3, or Hero Quest, or 13th Age Glorantha, those books cover the majority of the cults you would know. Orlanth, Isseries, Ernalda, Marangor, Obistagor. And then the Lunar book covers, well, basically the people that we all hate. And, no, it covers all of the lunar goddesses and gods, which, again, are cults that at least we're tangentially familiar with if we've stepped into Gloranthan waters. Now, the Gods of Fire and Sky is great because it illuminates, no lunar pun intended, talking about solar illumination, it illuminates a lot of cults that, at least in my experience, kind of the RQ2, 3, and then Hero Quest, Glorantha, and on, and RQG, I've read a lot about, but I've never had access to condensed information on these, aside from some of the big ones, right? Like, we all know who Yelm is if we're playing in Dragon Pass, right? The Solar Emperor who was killed by Orlanth, causing, you know, a time of great darkness, and is the focus of the retrieval of the Lightbringer quest. It covers Yamalio, who is the Cold Sun, uh, the uh, the son of Yelm, who attempted to take his father's place when he was in the underworld, and ended up having his the heat of his fire rune stolen from him by Zorak Zoran, the troll god. And this covers even more than that. So we get a little bit of familiarity, but a lot of these Solar Pantheon cults and deities, at least for me, I recognize them. I know some of their stories from my deep dive into the Guide to Glorantha, but this is the first time I've seen like a lot of great mechanical goodness put to them. So we have Yelm, Dezatar, Dendara, Antekos, Gorgorma, Lodril, Loconors, the Lowfires, Urania, Polaris, Shargash, Yamalio, and Yolorna, and then a 15-page overview of the sky of Glorantha, the constellations, and all of that, with great sideboards throughout. So I'm going to show off a couple of pieces of art because, oh man, as always, Chaosium's RuneQuest Glorantha line has some of the best art in the business. And again, I'll be a little slow going through these because I want to make sure that I don't get this video demonetized. So this is also the outside art for the GM screen. This is the Gods wall with the Pelorian gods. I love how it's basically indestructible, but every couple of years they definitely have to go and touch up the paint. Hey, James, good to see you. We have a lot of different poetry throughout here. This is a prayer to the sun god. This is a beautiful piece of the solar pantheons. And then, I want to flip through here. As with all the other Cults of RuneQuest books, we get kind of this genealogy of the fire and sky deities. Now, the ones that I'm most excited about, I mean, this art is just, it's just gorgeous. I've got to make sure I don't flip to the wrong pages. We get some great slice of life pieces. So these are the low fires. And we see in this art, oh, I should have double checked my light. I apologize. We see in this piece of art what I would call a slice of life. Somebody in this cult using their, connection with their cult to light a fire. I find these slice of life pieces more compelling than some of the slice of life pieces that we saw going around the internet a couple of months ago in preparation for the release of the new Player's Handbook for Dungeons & Dragons 5.5 edition. These don't feel as forced or as contrived. These feel like, hey, these are scenes from a Bronze Age life. Fixing or building a kiln, lighting fires, glazing pottery. These are great, great pieces. The one I'm most excited about is this deity right here. So Polaris is a star. He's the general of the armies of heaven. And I've been fascinated by the star captains. The star captains are stars that get sent to Earth during the god time, during the Great Darkness, to help mortals survive. In fact, if you go through the Hero Quest Sartar clan creation, you could be descended from a star captain who saved your people from destruction during the Great Darkness. So I love the idea of the stars and Polaris being kind of the general of heaven, and I love that this cult is now available to me to play. I want to play this. Now, one thing that's great is these are not just write-ups of deities and like, hey, if you worship this deity, if you worship Polaris, you get these mechanical benefits. I mean, it's there, right? We're playing a game, and RuneQuest Glorantha is a very simulationist game, so we want to know what kind of spells and abilities and cool things we get for being a part of Polaris's cult. But again, this is Glorantha. The mythology is what makes things real in the world. So every cult write-up, I know if you've watched any of my other reviews of the Cults of Runequest, some of this is going to sound repeated, but hey, you're here for it today, so we're going to talk about it. We get the mythos and history, both before time, during the Gods' War, and then since time began, what's the importance of the cult, as well as where their home of the cult is, what happens with life after death, why does the cult continue in existence to this day, how it's organized, what the different levels of membership is, from lay membership to initiate all the way through rune lords and rune priests, if there are any subservient cults, as well as new spells, as I said. And again, when you pick a cult in RuneQuest, it gives you access to some of your skills, your spirit magic, some of your passions, all great things. I love that the Yamalio cult, we'll show a couple more pieces off here. Yamalio's gifts and gases, just like Humakt, so you can get additional boons from your god, but you have to take these restrictions, and if you break them, you lose your boons. Obviously, Yamalio has... there we go. The Phalanx fighters there. And it tells how the Yamalian fighters fight like this, because they actually use two-handed spears and shields. So it has a description of how they like sling their shield like over their shoulder and in front of their body. And then this one's for my buddy Richard. Richard loves unicorn riders, and there is a whole cult of female battle unicorn riders in this book. So when I run RuneQuest Glorantha for Richard, I can almost guarantee that he's going to play an initiate of Yolnorna. Gotta say it right. Edit this out. I won't edit this out. Yeah, Yolnorna. So, man, this book is great. And then from a GM's perspective, it lets you flesh out how your NPCs are going to react, what kind of special abilities they can get, why they would be involved, as well as, again, having... This book is all about the celestial deities, so it makes sense that we get a lot of information about the celestial orbits and planets and stars above Glorantha. Because remember, Glorantha is not a planet floating through a solar system. It is a lozenge of Earth floating on a primeval sea, bound by the sky dome. And this sun literally exits the gates of dawn, rides across the sky, enters the gates of the underworld, and then spends the night in the realm of the dead. The planets are rotating through the air, but they don't rotate around a sun. They don't rotate around Glorantha. It's this very Bronze Age, almost Hebraic view of the firmament above being fixed on pillars that descend down into the depths of the ocean onto the foundations of the earth, and the earth is kind of bound in this. Yes, Polaris has a pull. How clever. I will say Polaris is the only fixed star, so kind of, I guess, the heavens do revolve around him. So you could almost say that the rest of the dancers in the night sky are, pole dancers, because they dance around Polaris. So, great addition. The art is fantastic. The writing is excellent. Also, one thing that I love about the guys at Chaosium is that... So Jeff Richard is one of the main writers for Glorantha at this point. I love Jeff Richard's writing. I also love the guys at Chaosium, and I'll put this back up real quick. See if I can get it. You'll notice Greg Stafford is still listed as one of the primary authors on this book, because Greg found the doors to Glorantha and opened them wide for the rest of us, and I appreciate that. There's been some controversy about Arneson and Gygax, their names being present or removed from various books and D&D properties. If you follow comics, right? Jack Kirby's name, Schuster and Siegel, and Bob King, or for Superman, Bob King for Batman. Like, I like that feeling of legacy, of being part of something bigger than myself, as opposed to just being focused just on the here and now and nothing else matters. So, kudos to you, Chaosium. Greg's memory lives alive and well and burns very brightly in these Cult of RuneQuest books. So, why would you get this? Well, if you're running RQG, it's kind of a no-brainer. You're playing in an RQG game and you want to play someone from the Fire and Sky Cult, you're definitely going to get a lot of information out of this. But if you're just a Glorantha file and you want to delve deeper into the mythos of Glorantha, its rich mythology, man, I highly recommend the Cults of RuneQuest books. I was a little frustrated, I'll be honest, when I first heard that they were splitting it up. Because at first, and I don't know that I'll get rid of this at any point, but I have the Gods of Glorantha Preview Edition from Gen Con 51. This is from 2018. So excited to get this. Poured over it. It was originally no art, 347 pages. I was so excited and waiting for this book to come out. And then the very first Chaosium Con, they're like, hey, it's going to be 3 books. You can get the Prosopedia and Volume 1 and 2. And almost within a year, they were like, it's going to be more than 3 books. And so right now we're up to 6. We have the Prosopedia, Mythology, Lightbringers, Earth Goddesses, Lunar Way, and now Fire and Sky. And very soon we're going to get, I know we're going to get Darkness and Sea. And there's going to be a Shamanism book. And I think there's still another one. I think they're shooting for 10 to 12 of these books. And again, I was so frustrated early on. So I'm like, guys, you've had this information. I've had all of the cultic information, all the magic. And the first 2 books came out, and I loved them. But as I said before in my reviews, there's a lot of overlap between those 2 books. I was kind of like, all right, is there just going to be more of this? And there's not. The Lunar book, spectacular, and the Gods of Fire and Sky, we're getting into kind of the less popular, both from a consumer and a narrative focus of Glorantha. And they are doing an amazing job of making these cults feel just as exciting. I read through the book and I immediately found like 3 new cults that I wanted to play that I hadn't even considered playing before and that I definitely want to bring to the table as NPCs. So, awesome. I'm very impressed with this book. Now you can get it through Chaosium at, it's going to be $40 for the book. And let's see here, let's go to the chat real quick. I would agree with you, James. Shane's name better stay on the Deadlands book as well. Yeah, I'm all 3 as well. Padre, history only started 10 years ago, don't you know? We should know every. So there's this great comedian that I love, Eddie Izzard, in his Dress to Kill. He jokes that he's like, hey, I'm from Europe, where all the history's from. And everybody kind of like fake laughs. He's like, no, I've watched you. I've watched your TV. You're like, this house has been restored to how it looked over 50 years ago. As if that's like some huge time frame. And it's like, no, like there are pubs in England that go back to the Crusades or before. There are places in Germany that, you know, have been around since the Middle Ages and still have buildings since then. So, yeah, Padre, I am, sorry, got me off on a little bit of a soapbox. Deadest Lands, I would play some Deadest Lands. John Doom, are we all harrowed? Is that what's going on there? In the Deadest Lands? I'm really excited. Excited about Deadlands Dark Age is coming out. I want a new version of Hell on Earth. I want a Suede version of Hell on Earth. Daryl, I'm looking right at you. Hell on Earth. Suede. Let's make it happen. So that's it. Until next time, I hope you all stay safe, stay healthy, stay gaming. I am going to go reread this book right now. I will see you all next week. I hope for those of you who celebrate, I hope that you all have a wonderful Easter. I'm looking forward to today is Monday, Thursday, Good Friday tomorrow, and then Easter Sunday. So if you celebrate Easter or Pascha, I'll be celebrating with you. So until next time, stay safe, stay healthy, stay gaming. I will see you all later. Till then, have a good one.